The last time the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series hit the track, J.R. Norrie snapped a 6-year winless streak at Dover to give Ease Racing its third win in the last 4 races. This week, we head to the Cayce Autosports Complex in Cayce, South Carolina, where we have our Cayce Duels. The criteria is very simple. That both races will be 200 laps, and the duels are set up. The first race will be anybody below 36th in owner's points, and the bottom 5 in the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge. The second race will be anybody above 35th in owner's points, and the first 5 in the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge. All points will be remaining the same, so if you win the first race, you do get the 42 points, and if you win the second race, you still get the traditional 42 points. The only points difference that is for this race is that the 2-point bonus for the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge entries will not be applied due to the fact that all cars in the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge will automatically be locked into this race, as I mentioned. And now we're going to head to our actual news. The 2015 silly season has kicked off. The big first initial rumor that comes out there is that Monster Energy will take over the Mobile One Racing organization and become the new primary sponsor for all 5 of its cars. As a result of this, it will leave DM Racing, which it currently sponsors Cayce Littinger in car number 5. It's not known what driver will replace Cayce, what sponsor will replace Cayce Littinger in the number 5, but hopefully we get that luck soon. However, there's also another rumor is that Mike Hogan, who has failed to qualify for practically every race so far this season, is going to most likely leave the team due to issues with the team disputes as the engine company. As ever since the team swapped to Toyotas, Hogan has been struggling pretty much the entire season. If this happens, the team he'll most likely jump over is Ease Racing, which as of now they have a 4-car stable. But we'll have to see what the news comes out with. And now we'll head to Kendall for the starting grid and both of the races. Thanks, Jerry. And here's our current South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge standings. As Garrett Bluntford is still the points leader of the challenge, he has 21 points, and he has a 5-point gap over Greg Woodard, who is the second place driver, with 16. Tobias Newbridge is third with 15 points, and John Casnier is fourth with 13 points. Ethan Littinger is the last car that will be racing in duel number 2. He has 11. He is actually tied with Keith Jesse. However, it was based on where they finished. I believe it was qualifying that determined where they were, and I think point standings wise, since Ethan Littinger was higher in the points, he will be ahead of Keith Jesse. Keith Jesse will be racing in duel number 1. Pike Patton is 7th with 8 points back. Johnny Gardner is 8th with 7 points back. 9th is Mike Harper with 7 points back. And Jordan Donovan has 5 points. He is in 10th. And now let's take a look at the starting lineup for the first duel. Your Athletic Polo winner for the first duel is Eddie Johns. He will have Jonathan Winslow starting on his outside. And as a result, as the ticker, we're actually going to let it scroll through. There is James Wilson Jr. He will start in the 6th spot, row number 3 on the inside. As we let the ticker go by. The field, it is split up into 40 cars, and the format was mentioned. Qualifying time trials were done normally, and there are several drivers that will be making their first starts of the year. The highest one up in the starting grid is Mike Hogan, who is starting 18th in this race. Jordan Donovan is the highest starting South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge driver. He starts 20th, and I believe he is the only one to start actually in the top 30, if I'm not mistaken. Chris Devon in the 06, who had that phenomenal run, he will start in the 24th spot. Daniel Salomon is also another driver who's making his first start of the year. He starts 23rd. Ray Landisol is also another driver that's making his first start of the year, starting 27th. Billy Garber, who takes over for Carter Pavis, he starts 29th. Kyle Eichson in the 05 will start 32nd. Carson Porank in the 52 starts 33rd. Moco Mansell, his first start since 2010, he starts 34th. We'll have to see. Jesse Donahue, his first start since late 2012, he starts 39th. Connor Stanton starts last out of all the drivers. So that is basically your starting grid for the first race, and now we'll head to our starting grid for the second race. And your Aflac Polo Award winner for the second duel race will be Casey Lester in the 12. This is, I believe, his 4th pole of the season. Alan Kimmel starts on his outside. Jason Duke starts 3rd. And then 2 other Silver Green Racing car teams will start 4th and 5th. Shane Nargan in the 32 starts 4th. Damon Scott starts 5th. And so already we got 3 of the 5 Silver Green Racing cars are actually in this race. In the start top 5, the other 2, Cody White starts 36th and Nathan Littinger starts 38th. So we'll have to see notable drivers in this one, as we have, there you see Justin Clinkston, 24, he starts 13th. Your points, now the points battle is that Chandler Blake, he starts 25th. His points rival, Keith Hale, starts 17th. There you see, we'll just keep scrolling down. Notable drivers there that are in the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge. The highest one is Tobias Newbridge. He starts 27th. Greg Woodard, the only Lakoya in the field, starts 29th. Garrett Bluntford, the current points leader in that division, starts 34th. Tony Wider, John Casnier, they start at the back of the field. As we have the scrolling tickers, as we're going to let that continue to go down. Jake Kierland starts 20th. Blake Battagliana starts 33rd. Luke Warren in the 14 was actually kind of a surprise. He was actually one of the fastest cars in practice, but somehow he wasn't able to get the time trials going. As there you see, we're going to have the rest of the field go through. And now we're going to take you through the race recap for both of the duels. And thank you. We're going to get the start of this race. The first one, as Eddie Johns leads the field down to the green flag. He gets by Jonathan Winslow. He gets a good start over the 00. Ike G's Jr. the 09 does likewise. As they are going to head into turn number 3. The 09s was going to get the edge, and looks like that's not going to happen, as Ike G's Jr. is going to get second. Scott Harper is now trying to look under the 00 of Jonathan Winslow, as they're going to be completing. They're completing their second lap here. And we would have problems with Chris Clark at the 56. He would bounce off the wall, and then somehow mechanical troubles would cost the 56 very early in this race, as this was, I believe, after the second lap here. As the 56, he would get to the apron. He would actually make it to pit road without too much of a problem. And here's Billy Garber in car number 4. He would be our first caution lap number 9. He gets loose, gets into Kyrie Uthan, and gets Gordon Billard in the 91 collected. As that basically sums up our season, as Billard has crashed. Whenever he is in a race, he basically crashes out, or he just does not qualify. Chase Calasso and Kyle Eichson go for slides as they are going to approach the caution. Car 55 of Eddie Johns is leading on the restart, which happened on lap 14. As they're going to be, as the 55 of Johns has to deal with the 56 of Chris Clark. The 09 of Ike G's Jr. was second on that restart, and looks like Shane Trooks in the 73 is already going to challenge the 00 of Jonathan Winslow for that track position. However, this restart was plagued with controversy. There you see the 52 of Carson Brank going under the inside. Jason Calasso, Moko Manso, Austin Warwick, and I believe somebody else were all passing on the inside before the restart. You cannot do that in NOVAR, so NOVAR black flagged pretty much all the drivers that did, as there you can see, I think the Moko Manto on the 46 is going to come in, Jason Calasso, and I think Jesse Donahue, who also came into pit, I believe also for that same reason. So looks like Mike Hogan in the 7, he's basically had a bad year, but he is still out on the track. There you see the 6 of Scott Harper in the 6, who was probably one of the title favorites going into this year. However, his expectations were completely disappointed, because his other 2 teammates, Jake Carolyn and Jason Duke, who nobody expected Duke to be one of the fastest cars out on the track. Another driver who's been a disappointment is the 99 of Daniel Salomon, who's practically been struggling, I think, throughout the entire season. He's failed to qualify for every single race, which that's kind of a rare to see for that 99 team, as he's getting by the 53 of Brian Kittleson, who's basically struggled the past several years. And here's the 63 car, and that's actually Connor Stanton. You haven't really seen Stanton a lot this year, because this 63 car has also failed to qualify, as Stanton originally drove the 63 car until the 2010 season, where he then moved to the Arona Racing number 10 car, which that car is currently driven by Sean McDowell. The car ahead of him, the 78 of Ray Lendelsa, is making his first start since 2010, which that's quite impressive, as he's failed to qualify for every single race so far, as he's come back to the NOVAR, has not been successful, as we're going to be heading out of turn 4. And then here's Ethan Czar in the car 36. His teammate Chris Devins made a couple of races and had that 4th place, actually that 5th place finish at Dover, happened earlier this year, as one of the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge cars that's up ahead is the 34 of Pike Patton. Patton currently runs in the Gatorade Series, driving car number 75. As there you see, Pike Patton's going to try to go to the inside of the 63 of Connor Stanton, as the 34 is going to, I think passing here has practically been difficult throughout the weekend. And then here's another driver making his first start of the year, is Kyle Eichson for Valvoline Motorsports. Valvoline Motorsports has 4 teams in the Gatorade Series, and Kyle Eichson had drove the 00 car and actually won the title, I believe, in 2008. as he has practically been very strong here, as this is as I really have no note to say, as Eichson was replaced by Davis McBuster. Our second caution will come out lap 25. Moko Matzel gets into the pit wall. Austin Warwick, Chris Devon, and Kyle Eichson were all collected, and they all start piling in. There you see Keith Jesse, car 80, got piled in as well. And here's what happened to Moko Matzel. He just somehow runs into the pit wall. I believe he overshot the entrance. Austin Warwick and Chris Devon were also collected. Jason Kylasso dives into the pits to avoid the mess, which I think that's smart, but yet dumb, as the pits are closed. The 55 of Eddie Johns leads on the restart, with the 73 of Shane Truex is in second. There's a herd of lap cars and lead lap cars that are on the tail end ahead of the 55, as the 55 is right now, I believe, one of the last cars. I think one is actually towards the back. And there you see the 73 is Shane Truex. He's going to try to make the 3-wide pass. It looks like that 73 make it the nose on, and looks like he pushes the 55 into the wall. That's going to give Truex the lead of this race. But meanwhile, there's a wreck with Pike Patton getting into the back of Johnny Gardner. Here's what happened. Looks like the 34 gets into the back of Johnny Gardner. The 0 gets turned around and then gets clipped by the 55 Eddie Johns, and Connor Stanton in the 63 was also collected. Ryan Pearson in the 2 was also collected likewise. We would continue on, and then we would have Shane Truex, car 73, back at the lead once again, with the 55 of Eddie Johns in second. Thomas Lawyers and Scott Harper are a couple of laps down. The 73 would be able to get away from this pack, as the 73 is just going to get away. There you see Scott Harper almost puts himself in the wall with the 55 of Eddie Johns. And here's Billy Garber in car number 4. He took over for Carter Pavis after Pavis was injured at Blue Ridge and has failed to qualify for both of the races he gets attempted so far. But now he is right there trying to have a shot to get his way back up. And then here's Jordan Donovan in car 37, who is one of the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge entries. He was the highest qualifier despite being low in points. And now it's going to be, and now he almost runs it right in the 99 right up into the wall. As there you see another South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge driver, Mike Harper in the 17, has practically struggled all this weekend, as he's been in various instances during the week, as the 37 of Jordan Donovan would have a very strong run, as he would be running around the top 15 practically the entire day. And here's the 17 of Mike Harper. He'll pull up in front of Jesse Donahue and cause our next caution on lap 56. Corey Von Dugga runs out in the back of the 28. As they all start to try to drive around, here's what happened. I think a boneheaded move by the 17 of Mike Harper. It wasn't. Looks like the 21 held his line, and then the 52 just came back up the track, and then the 52 of Carson Perrank comes up and gets into the 21, sending both cars around. So as the 21 comes down, he gets hit by Johnny Gardner. Mac Hamlin in the 28's already around. Marcus Powell's collected, and then Max Rapon in the back slides while trying to avoid the pit wall. So then we would have our restart with the 73 of Shane Truex once again on the lead on the restart, as the 64 Brian Dawson is in second, as the 73 gets away from most of this pack, as he's going to be heading into the middle of turn 3 and 4, as they're going to loop around, and the 73 is going to lead the field down, as here is Kyle Eichson on lap number 75. He gets himself turned around almost the same exact way as Mike Harper, except he doesn't take anybody else out with this time. The 64 Brian Dawson is the leader on this restart. Mike Hogan is the last car in the lead lap. And there you see the 57 of Kyrie Euthan, who I believe was late getting off the pits, as looks like this is a nice spectator cam, as they're going to head out of turn number 3 and 4, and then back to our normal cam, which the 64 Brian Dawson, he gets another lap in, as he is right now leading. He has a charge from the 00 of Jonathan Wins. The 55 of Eddie Johns is right now in the second spot. The third spot is Daniel Salmon. He's already making bold moves. He's getting under, I believe, the lap car of Keith Jesse in the 80, as this was on lap 74, as we're going to be heading out. Jonathan Winslow slides up the track. This gets Salmon a chance to go to the inside, and they're going to be 3 wide with the lap car of Winslow in the middle, and Euthan's crashed into the pit wall. It takes out the 3 leaders, so the 3 leaders all get damage from, and that's going to bring out the caution lap 75. Kyrie Euthan just runs into the pit wall, overshot the pit wall. Carson Prank at the 52 was collected. Keith Jesse was also in there. As among others, here's what happened to Keith Jesse. Looks like the 99 just shot up the track. Carson Prank at the 52 was also collected in that. So I think Youthen was trying to get into the pit road, but just overshot it. The 80 is just billowing out smoke. So tough break for car number 80, as he had a very good day, and that's not going to show. On the restart, which happened on lap 80, the 52 of Carson Brink is the leader on this. Was the leader on that restart. Cayce Jr. is still in second, as third place is Ray Lando. So in the 78, surprise for that 78 crew, as they are running up front, and I don't even think that car is even damaged. So what a good job by that 78 crew, as looks like Frank in the 52 is struggling with that lap car of Marcus Powell in the 74. Powell's only made one start this year, and that was at Dentsville, where he finished last due to a accident, I believe, on in the early stages of that race. As Cayce Jr. comes on the outside, and the 74 looks like Frank gets by. Matt Campbell on the 28 is going to try to get into the pits, but runs into the pit wall. This happened just after halfway, as we're going to get the restart. Here's the restart, which the 52 of Carson Frank was leading on the restart. Ray Lamonson is in second, as they're going to be heading down into turn number 3. The 52 is starting to pull away from the 78 and the 13 of Lancel. Jared Lancel is actually in the third spot. Brian Kittleson is in fourth. Now looks like the 52 is going to go under the 13, make the pass, but does Kittleson have a chance to get under the 78? Looks like the 52 will get by. Look, Brian Kittles, the 52, would actually have the strongest car. Another car would, however, the only car that would be able to compete would be that 78 of Ray Landosol. Landosol, who I mentioned has not made a Verizon Cup Series start since 2010, is making a huge statement in this race, in which basically all drivers are automatically started unless if they somehow withdraw, which I don't think any of them did. The 52 of Carson Frank is leading this race. The 78 actually ran down the 52, and the 78 of Ray Landosol looks like he's going to hold the bottom, as the 52 is also going to do likewise, as trying to find a passing opportunity, which there are, but passing is quite difficult because you can't really get a run off that corner. Or if you do, the car in front of you will also have that same run. So as they head out of turn number 4, the 78 of Landosol is there, but will he be able to make a move? Looks like a couple laps later, the 78, he gets a run. The 52 looks high, and the 78 is actually going to get to the bottom of the racetrack and actually have a shot to try to make the pass. So the 78 of Ray Landosol is now going to try to take the lead away from car 52 of Carson Prank. Prank has never won a Verizon Cup Series race, and so has the 78 of Landosol. As the 78 of Landosol is going to try to get to the bottom. The 52 of Prank gets a better run on the outside, as looks like Prank gets the edge off of turn number 4, and looks like he'll retain the lead that time. The 78 of Landosol will challenge again and get back to the bottom of the racetrack, and then we'll actually get to the bottom of the racetrack, and this will actually help Brian Kittleson and the 53 close in. The 4th place car, Jared Lancel, has actually fallen back, and now the 78 of Landosol is going to get into the wall. They touch a little bit as they head off at turn number 4, as even though this is about with 75 laps to go, this is still some really good racing by two drivers who have yet to make a Verizon Cup Series start this year, and now in their lone start that they'll possibly ever get, they're making a show worth of it. And looks like the 78 of Landosol is going to take the lead away from car 52 of Carson Prank. Brian Kittleson of the 53 is now going to look for second, as the 53 is going to get to the bottom of the racetrack, and looks like Kittleson, he has the line, and looks like the 78 of Landosol is held up by the 63, and I believe the 53 of Kittleson will get the line off of turn number 1, excuse me, as Kittleson will get there. Meanwhile, Landosol will hold the lead until he gets held up by the 21 of Donahue and the 36 of Zarin, which this would wad the field up, as these 78 would get to the bottom of the racetrack, as he will get stuck in the middle, and I believe this move would kind of cost him, because this would put the 56 on the inside, and as a result, this would actually give Carson Prank an advantage, as he has the bottom line, whereas Landosol is stuck on the high line. However, the 78 gets a good run off the corner, as the 21 somehow is not there, and almost takes Ethan Zorin into the wall, as despite being 2 cars back, it is a 3-car pack. This actually brings Jared Lancel back into the battle, for the lead, as he was about 3 seconds back, as looks like Lando Saws actually appears to get the edge in this corner, but somehow eventually the 52 of Carson Brank will overcome that, as the inside line starts to overcome, as the 56 of Chris Clark decides to go 3 wide with Jared Lansall with Jesse Donahue and Ethan Zarin. As a result, this would put the 56 back in the 52 back in the lead, and this would put Brian Kittleson in second, and then this would eventually put Jared Lansall in the 13 in the third spot. So now, as they head off at turn number 2, there's Ryan Pearson. Pearson's a lap down. The next car that's actually on the lead lap with him is Mike Hogan, as he is talk a little bit. And here's how the top 3 settle out, as the 78 would fade out to about a couple of seconds back, as the 52 of Parenk has built up quite a lead over Brian Kittleson in the 53, and then Kittleson has about a half a second lead over the 13 of Jared Lansall, as they're going to be heading into turn number 3 and 4, as this would be a crucial part. Here's Jesse Donahue in car 21, as the 21 is going to get to the end. The 21 is going to get to the outside. The 52 gets a good run into the corner, pushing the 21 onto the outside. Parenk in the 52 is going to have the bottom line. It looks like he's going to set clear of the 21, as not quite yet there, and now he does, as the 21 of Donahue will now actually hold up the 53, and this would actually be kind of a key move of the race for the 52 of Carson Parenk, as he made that pass easily, and the 52 of Brian Kittleson and Jared Lansall would struggle. However, with about it would take for Carson Parenk to get by the 21, it took them about a lap, but for these two, it took them about 10 laps to get by the 21, which by then Carson Parenk has pulled out to about a 1.5 second lead over both of these drivers. And once Lansall and Kittleson made the pass, it was only 5 laps remaining in the race. As there you see, the 13 of Lansall gets by clean, and Brian Kittleson does likewise, as Kittleson mainly struggled to get by the 21, and this got Lansall to take the advantage and get that second spot away. But meanwhile, back up front, car 52 of Carson Parenk has never won a Verizon Cup Series race. He takes the white flag, as the 52 has about a 1.5 second lead over the 13, and unless if something blows up, this will be Carson Parenk's first career NOVAR Verizon Cup Series win. Turn 3 and 4, and out of the corner, and Carson Parenk's season will be added with a win, his first career NOVAR Verizon Cup Series victory. Jared Lansall second, and Brian Kittleson gets third. So Carson Parenk wins his first career NOVAR Verizon Cup Series race. He led a race-high 113 laps out of 200, and I believe he is the first driver this year to get the full 45 points there is, as he was also the hard charging award, as he came from the 33rd starting position. Second place is Jared Lansall, who started 30th. He actually got by Kittleson and actually tried to run down Parenk, but it was too little time for him to get there. Brian Kittleson gets third. He would have had a shot to win the race, however, Jesse Donahue got into the way and interfered with that. Ray Lansall in car 78. A very good debut for car number 78 of Ray Lansall. He gets the 4th spot. Mike Hogan also does likewise in the 5th spot. And just to take a note, 3 of the top 5 were all making their first starts of the year, and they get top 5 finishes. That being Parenk, Lansall, and Hogan. Brian Dawson gets a 6th place finish, a well-needed 6th place finish. After starting 17th in the race, he led a bit in that race. Ryan Pearson is the first car 1 lap down. He finished 7th. Billy Garber is in 8th. He was 1 lap down. Last car 1 lap down, to be exact. Shane Howard in cars number 03 gets the 9th spot. And rounding out the top 10 in Duel 1 is Brian Wilson. There were 7 cautions for 35 laps, 9 lead changes between 7 drivers, and the margin of victory was 1 second and 36/10 of a second. And now Cayce Lister in the 12 is going to lead the field down for the second race. That's Alan Kimmel. It starts on his outside. Kimmel gets a better start than what Winslow did in the first race. And the 88 of Alan Kimmel, he's going to get a good run going into turn 3. And that 88 will get to the race lead. Early going in this second duel. Cayce Lister in the 12 is sponsoring that Miller Lite scheme he had at Sacramento before those issues happened. Our first caution fly on lap 6. Steve Volt gets turned by the 25 of Scott Howard, gets Jake Carroll, Blake Tagliana, Tony Wider, and John Casnier in the 85. The 85 hits the 29 quite hard, and and the 29 would be able to keep on going. However, he would drop into the race, so would the 85 of John Kaznier. Restart would happen on lap 11 as the 88 of Alan Kimmel still led, with the 12 of Cayce Lester right in the second spot. Shane Nargan was in third, as there was no cars on the that were a lap down that were notable, as the 88 of Alan Kimmel was able to get through. And unlike the last one, we didn't really have any penalties regarding the inside passing, as I believe the message was sent clear after those incidents that happened early on in going. Here are a couple of drivers that I think that we need to mention in the second race. Garrett Bluffer is the current South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge points leader, as he leads by 5, but however he is running towards the back of this pack, as he is right now racing with Tony Wider and Cody White in the 22, as he is right now somewhat stuck in the back. Bloodford's actually had quite promise here, but he finished he had engine issues at Darlington in his only start, and even with that, he's actually been able to make a good statement. He, despite not qualifying for Dentonville, he beat out all 10 of the all other 9 of the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge drivers, and one of them was Ethan Littinger in car 51, the Silver Green Racing driver, who currently runs in the Gatorade Series and I believe sitting second in points, as the 51 of Ethan Littinger. He's falling back between with teammate Damon Scott in the 18, and the 24 Justin Klinkson is also going to try to get by the 51, as Littinger is one of the highly touted prospects for Silver Green Racing, as he is contacted with Silver Green Racing. Greg Woodard in the 41 is the only LaCoy on the field, as he is running in the second race. He sits second in the point standings, with Cameron Rooks in the 33 and Mark Mangillo in the 20. In the 41, so Woodard is the only LaCoya in the field, as they are a lone powerhouse. Woodard was one of the favorites to win the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge for this year, and I believe he was a favorite during the 2012 running when he ran car 40, which was, I think, aided by Valvoline Motorsports. However, this year he's running car 41, aided by his own team, which I can't really remember the name of it. And however, there's another car up in front of him. That is the 96 of Tobias Newbridge. Newbridge has actually had a lot of wrecks racing. He was in a lot of wrecks during the Darlington race. However, I think that was mainly due to a crash fest. However, luckily for him, he is running only a spot ahead of the 41 of Woodard, as right in front of him is the battle between Brandon Green and Chandler Blake, and I believe that is for the 11th spot, if I'm not mistaken. So Newbridge and Woodard are running pretty well in the only going this race. Speaking of Chandler Blake is donating Zaxby's, his primary sponsor from 2010 and 2011, as the 15 is right now running just outside the top 10, as Blake has been pulling off 4 straight top 10 finishes, which then all began with that win at California, and that's basically how he got that huge points lead, with him aided by other cars struggling throughout the weekend, that particular weekend, as that's basically been the case throughout the past several weeks. And here's the 20 of Mark Mangillo, as Mangillo is donning Dunkin' Donuts colors, as I believe that's the first time that Dunkin' Donuts has actually been able to get a car to sponsor them. As the 20 of Mangillo looks like he will get to the bottom of the racetrack and will run the bottom line too, as the 20 of Mangillo looks like he'll get to the bottom of the racetrack, as he's running just behind the 15 of Chandler Blake and behind Tobias Newbridge, as I mentioned, and also Cameron Brooks in car 33 is also in there as well. So the racing has basically been a lot calmer in the second race than it was in the first race, because basically these drivers have actually had experience watching the first race, which was sort of a crash fest. But meanwhile, back up front, nothing's changed, as Alan Kimmel's actually pulled away to a lead. But Cayce Lester and Shane Nargan, 2 Silver Green Racing teammates, are battling it out for the second spot, as the 12 of Cayce Lester and the 32 of Nargan are going to race it on. The third place car is Jason Duke. Fourth place car is Jason Duke, excuse me. Blake Battagliana is a couple of laps down. The 32 of Nargan has actually had some really good luck, however, has actually been really strong in these season. However, luck has basically plagued him to where he is in the point standings right now, as Cayce Lester has actually been very strong week in and week out. However, he's not been able to win. But meanwhile, back up front, car 88 of Alan Kimmel is right now the leader race. He is actually getting to the lap cars, the first of which was Ethan Littinger, car 51, which I think Littinger was running way off the pace. as looks like Alan Kimmel's going to get to the inside and will get by the 51 without too much of a problem, and that's probably going to be an issue for the 12 and the 32, as we saw in the first race, Jesse Donahue got into the way of Brian Kittleson and Jared Lansell. That's basically what cost both of them the race. It looks like 88 of Kimmel gets by the 51 of Ethan Littinger, and the 12 of Lester and the 32 of Nargan will also be there. Blake Battaglione would have problems just running to the pit wall and then blow up. While doing so Blake Battaglione will drop out of the race because of that. But meanwhile up ahead, as this was a couple laps before the Battaglione incident, Shane Nargan was able to get under the 88 of Alan Kimmel and will now try to challenge that 88 for the lead, as Alan Kimmel has basically been untouched for these first 85 laps, as the 32 of Nargan is now going to try to get the nose under, as coming to the inside. It looks like the 32 is able to clear, not quite just yet. And looks like Nargan's going to get the lead back this time by. So car 32 of Shane Nargan is going to lead this race, as now he's going to get away from the 88 of Alan Kimmel. Casey Lester is going to try to get by the 88 car of Alan Kimmel, as looks like the 88 of Kimmel will prevail, but Lester is still trying to fight that spot, as Nargan in the 32 is pulling away. We are some green flag stops. Scott Johnson and the points leader Chandler Blake have crashed into the pit wall. So your points leader Chandler Blake has crashed into the pit wall, and then we would have more shenanigans. Greg Woodard would get hit into the pit wall, and the 72 would roll over that 41. And here's the pit road stands cam. This is actually looking at the pit road entrance, as there you see the 41's hogging up all this traffic, and then Jake Carolyn in the 76 just runs right into the pit wall and gets stuck there, and then this stacks up the field to 12 of somebody runs into the back of Damon Scott. That's, I think, Grant Bluntford, and then CJ Gore comes flying and gets into the back of the 38. This stacks the field up. The 51 Ethan Littinger runs to the pit wall, and Casey Lester just runs right into the back of him, and cars are just pushing Casey Lester. Alan Kimmel, the second place car, gets collected in this as well, as meanwhile we'll get a little bit ahead of that, as we see more stops. Looks like, I think that's the 25 of Scott Howard and the 08 of Garrett Bluntford. They get into the pits without any problem there, as despite all that pit road chaos, somehow it doesn't bring out a yellow flag, which I thought it did initially, but somehow it does not. There you see, I think that was Tony Wider. Tony Wider barely made it into the pits. Alan Kimmel, followed by Casey Littinger and CJ Gordon. There you see Logan Chin. It barely makes it into the pits. However, despite all the pit road carnage, there you see Shane Nargan entering the pits. The 9 of Jamie Scott A would run into the pit wall, and that would actually bring out the caution, which happened on lap 119. So this ended about a 108 lap green flag run. On the restart, Shane Nargan, car 32, and Justin Klingston would be the only two cars in the lead lap. Damon Scott between the middle is actually in the third spot. However, he is one lap down. The 32 of Nargan would be able to get away from the entire pack, as Nargan is just driving away from the field, as there you see the 24 of Justin Klingston. Klingston's also been able to get away from the entire pack. We would have our next caution come out on lap 130, as Chris Bell gets hooked by the 35 of Tony Wider and spins and gets Shane Clark third, Casey Lester, Mark Mongillo, and spins it around and keeps on going. So the car 30 will continue on with this race. On the restart, the 32 of Shane Nargan is leading on the restart, as Justin Klingston in the 24 is still in second, as looks like the 32 is able to get away, as looks like the 24 and actually somehow falls in line with the 35 of Tony Wider, and Keith Hales in the 27 with his points rival most likely finishing 35th in this race. This is actually be a big key advantage for the 27 of Keith Hales, as Hales right now is running in the 6th spot, as even though he's about 2 or 3 laps down, he's making it worth of it. We would have an incident that did not bring out a yellow flag. Walter Green gets turned by Garrett Bluntford, gets into Carson Brooks, and gets Casey Littinger and Chris Bell. Somehow this does not bring out a yellow flag. However, Walter Green is successful at bringing a yellow flag out. He goes into the pit road and just runs into the pit wall, gets Shane Bliss, and Alan Kimmel. I think he just drove right through that wreck without even getting hit. And the 32 of Shane Nargan would be leading on this restart. Justin Klingston in the 24 is in second, once again, as basically those two have basically been on the lead lap pretty much practically the entire second half of this race, as the 32 in Nargan is going to get away from the 24, and Shane Nargan in car 32 is going to lead Keith Hales in car 27. The 08 to Garrett Bluntford. There you see, this is the battle for 10th spot, and this is a key part here. If the 08 of Bluntford finishes 10th, he'll get a bonus point. So the 66 of Jason Duke, he will try everything he can to prevent Bluntford from getting that point, and the 66 of Duke will try everything he can. The 66 is going to try to get to the bottom of the racetrack, and so far he is not successful at doing that, as the 08 of Bluntford is holding the middle. Duke is going to try to go to the bottom, but he can't get the job done. So that one critical point that Bluntford needs, he is doing a pretty good job at defending it. As here comes the 66 of Duke. Duke finally gets a run of the corner. He finally has the nose under. The 08's on the outside. And out of turn number 4, looks like the 66 of Duke will be able to get by the 08, and it doesn't seem like the 08 will get that bonus point. So meanwhile, the 32 of Shane Nargan is pulled out to about a 10-second lead. He's always had a strong car, but however, bad luck has always cost him. At Dentsville, he blew a motor. Atlantic City, he was involved in a wreck. At Chicagoland, his handling went away. At Edmonton, he was in a wreck. Darlington, he came and finished 3rd. California, his handling went away. At Blue Ridge, he had a poorly timed pit stop. At Sacramento, he was in a wreck. And at Dover, he was really nowhere. But Shane Nargan wins at Cayce with Justin Klinkson in 2nd. So Shane Nargan is the winner of this race. He led a race high 116 laps out of 200, as he had practically dominated ever since taking the lead over from Alan Kimmel. Justin Klinkson was the only car that finished on the only other car that finished on the lead lap. He finished 10 seconds back in 2nd place. Damon Scott was the only car 1 lap down. He finishes 3rd. Casey Hutto and Tony Wider, they battled it out, and Hutto this time got by Wider, as Wider was actually 3 laps down while Hutto was just 2 laps down. 6th place was Keith Hales in the 27, with Chandler Blake finishing about 35th, and with Hales finishing 6th. This will definitely make a big implication on the point standings, as this will basically, I believe, you kind of see it here in the point standings, as it basically cuts the lead in half. Casey Lester, the pole sitter, finished 7th. He finished 3 laps down. So for the second time in the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge, Silver Green Racing gets 3 cars into the top 10. The only 2 exceptions were Cody White, who finished 13th, and Ethan Littinger, who had finished, I believe, outside the top 30. And Alan Kimmel, the only other leader in the race, he led 84 laps. And he led the first 84 laps to finish in the 8th spot, 3 laps down. Casey Littinger finishes 9th and finished where he started, 3 laps down. And then Jason Duke rounds out the top 10. He was able to outrun Garrett Bluntford, so Bluntford will not get the 1 point for finishing in the top 10. And now we take a look at your point standings. Chandler Blake's points lead went from 52 to 25, and that's all because of what I mentioned, as Blake finished 35th while Keith Hales finished 6th, and that basically explains it. And now Casey Lester in the 12, he has his deficit cut to 33 points back. Shane Clark the 3rd, he is in 4th in points. He actually loses another spot. He is 37 points back. Tony Wider is 44 points back. He is in the 5th spot. Shane Nargan finishes 6th in the points. He's right now in 6th in points with 51 points back. Mark Mangillo is 7th with 58 points back, and rounding out the first 8 with 63 points back is Todd Piper in car 26. And now we take a look at 9 through 15. Cody White is back in the top 10. He is in 9th with 67 points back. Casey Hutto 1 point back of him in 10th with 68 points. 79 points back from the lead is Shane Harden in the 59. He is in 11th. Luke Warren is in 12th with 80 points back. 1 point ahead of Brandon Green, who is 13th in points, who is 2 points ahead of Jason Duke, who is 14th in points. And rounding out the top 15 is Justin Klinkson in car number 24 with 88 points back. Next week's race will be at Boston International Speedway for the Bush's Baked Beans 200 in Boston, Massachusetts.